It's spelled traitor, not traitor. Chapter 7. The First Tests. It was the dead of night once Izuku and Yagi arrived at UA. The principal had anticipated Izuku's arrival, and so had given Yagi a guest pass to get Izuku past the gates. The retired hero led the boy into a facility dorm area, and set him up with a room with no fuss. Once Izuku was alone, he went about setting the room up to his standards. Books, clothes, and other paraphernalia were artfully arranged around the room before he collapsed into the bed. Of course, decorating his room had an ulterior motive for Izuku to accomplish. Using the setup to conceal his intentions, Izuku had scoured the room and located a number of cameras and microphones, some hidden and some in plain view. The security precluded Izuku simply teleporting to and from UA at least. So instead, Izuku slept. He did not dream, and so the rest of the night seemed to pass in an instant. And then when he was prepared for the day, he walked up to address one of the obvious surveillance cameras. "Hello? If anyone's on the other side of the camera, can you send someone down? I would appreciate breakfast, and I'm sure no one wants me walking around unsupervised. Thank you." Izuku did not have to wait long. There was a knock at his door just 2 minutes after he made his request. He opened the door to find none other than Eraserhead himself slumped at his doorway. The underground hero gave Izuku a once-over with half-lidded, heavily bagged and heavily bagged eyes. "So you're the brat that's kicked up such a fuss." Hello. I'm Midoriya Izuku." Izuku gamely stuck out a hand for a shake, ignoring Eraserhead's comment. Follow me. We have cereal in the common lounge." Eraserhead pivoted and started trudging away. "Okay?" Izuku shut the door behind him and dogged Eraserhead's heels as he led the way to a living room/kitchen combo. Eraserhead collapsed onto a chair facing the kitchenette while Izuku investigated. He quickly found a fruity cereal in a cupboard and milk in the mini-fridge. He combined them together in a bowl that was on a stack on top of the counter. He also filled a kettle with water from the tap in the sink and set it on a heating plate to start heating, and selected a mug that had "I hate Mondays" written on it and selected a tea bag to hang within. Izuku's movements were sure and steady, and within an efficient span of minutes had prepared his breakfast and sat down at a low table within Eraserhead's eyesight. He tucked into the food in silence under the heavy weight of the scruffy hero's scrutiny. Once done, he washed the dishes and set them on a drying rack. "You're done? Good, let's go." Eraserhead levered himself up from his chair with a sigh. "Okay, back to the room?" Izuku queried. "Jim, want to get started on this nonsense as quick as possible. It's illogical to waste time on something this important." Good point." The two traveled in silence. Izuku took this chance to observe the UA campus in the light. There were soaring hallways and gleaming windows, lush vegetation, and clean pathways, and it was all but utterly vacant. A passing clock showed why. 6 o'clock in the morning. Students should not have been awake yet. Passing through the doors into a vaulted gym, the pair was met not with the silence of the rest of the walk, but with slapping shoes and controlled huffing. Taking laps around the interior track and circling the middle of the gym was a young man with a familiar shock of ashen blonde hair. Bakugo stopped his jogging and turned at the sound of the door opening and groaned at the sight of not only his teacher, but the counselor as well. "What the heck, Aizawa?" Bakugo demanded, striding up to the pair. "I'll fix my hero name like you assholes wanted. Why is that quirk counseling guy here?" Aizawa sighed, massaging the bridge of his nose. "Bakugo, this gym was reserved for the day. Why are you here? "'Cause I didn't expect anyone to use it at the ass end of the morning, that's why. Now what the heck is the deal?" "It is none of your concern, Bakugo. Just vacate the premises. Mr. Midoriya is not here for you." Bakugo twisted and stalked to a bag of gym gear and picked it up. "Whatever, if it's not my business, then I don't give a crap. Just don't try to kill this one like you do us, yeah?" He kicked the door open and walked out, shouting over his shoulder. "He's just some useless nerd. Ain't got the skills to keep up with the heroes." The door slammed shut behind the explosive teen. Aizawa snorted, a wry smirk on his face. "Bakugo seems to have taken a liking to you." "Really?" Izuku cocked his head. "Didn't sound like it to me." In fact, it sounded only minorly less acerbic than similar interactions they'd had as children, name-calling included.
Whatever. Let's start running laps, I'll tell you when to stop.
It did not take long. Izuku was very careful to suppress the various speed, strengthening, and endurance quirks he had at his disposal. Within 5 laps, he was sweating and panting, and in 10, his legs felt like jelly. Finally, at 15 laps, Aizawa called for a halt. Izuku hobbled over to sit on the bleachers near the hero. Man, I have really let myself go without training regimen to keep me in shape. Izuku thought to himself and accepted a water bottle when it was proffered to him. His fingers brushed a small, fuzzy paw as he did so. Izuku was too tired to flinch. His head lolled to the side to see an albino... Was it a mouse? A dog? It could have been an exceptionally small albino bear. They wore a button-down shirt and vest, slacks, and to wildly contrast, a very small set of work boots. Izuku blearily noted a long scar across its right eye. Hello. That's right. I'm Nezu, the principal that you can't tell if I'm a mouse, a dog, or a bear. It's nice to meet you, young Midori. Nezu greeted, waving a dog-like paw in the air. Tobbins! Izuku blurted blearily before he shook his head. I mean, hello! He uncapped the water and took a deep pull of the life-giving liquid within and felt himself refresh as it slid down his gullet. At least they haven't spiked it with anything. There was a snort off to the side from Aizawa, but the principal seemed unfazed. I'm sure Mr. Yagi explained to you why you're here. Yeah. Izuku sat upright. My quirk resembles the quirk of the villain who was All Might's last battle, which he didn't seem to have at the time, or something like that, because he can't pass it on. And also, I've become the de facto miracle worker counselor for students, and you're worried I might be making blackmail on future heroes.
Damn fool spilled all of the beans.
Aizawa snorted. So you all want to make sure I'm not the second coming of this villain? Somehow? By keeping me away from my patients here at UA? Correct. Nezu nodded, his furry tail lashing behind him. I actually have a question about that. Ask away. What would you have done if I had turned out to be the villain at the apartment? You sent Yagi, who seems to be in ill health, to fetch me, but what if I had turned on him to resist arrest? It's simple. We had a hero station nearby to intervene if you proved violent. As simple as that. Let me guess. Lemillion? He patrols the area I live in, so he knows the layout well. And also he inherited One for All, who better to combat the potential inheritor of All for One. Very astute. As his alma mater, we have high hopes for Lemillion's future, and bringing in the successor of that particular villain would have been an excellent boost to his career. But we're glad you came voluntarily all the same. Much easier for everyone involved. I don't know. I feel like the suffering would have been shorter if I just gotten myself arrested right there. He took another long draught of water to make his point. Aizawa chuckled menacingly. Oh, don't worry. We're just getting started. Izuku came to the realization that Eraserhead was a sadist. Push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, 5 other types of ups, running, ludicrously contorting yoga, obstacle courses, sparring with Eraserhead himself, more running, squats, crunches, jumping jacks, and more in an eternally lost in sweat and pounding pulse. It was the best workout that Izuku had experienced in his life. He felt like he lost 20 pounds and could confidently say he was fit once he was done. His limbs also felt like jelly, his lungs burned, his mind was fuzzy with fatigue, and he was edging on nausea. Aizawa clearly knew how to push someone to their very limit without going too far. He was currently splayed as spread eagle on the gym floor while his drill sergeant and the principal talked over him. Well, he certainly doesn't have the physique of a villain. Fairly standard for his age of profession. The man, bare mouse, put a paw to his chin, regarding the body of Izuku stuck to the ground by his sweat-soaked clothes.
He could be suppressing his strength quirks.
True. I think it's time to bring in the detective. Eraserhead grumped an affirmative and slumped away, presumably to fetch the aforementioned detective. Meanwhile, Principal Nezu leaned over Izuku's panting face, his own expression unreadable. Well, since we're alone together, young Midori, is there anything you'd want to say in private? Eraserhead, Izuku huffed between breaths, is a demon of fitness. Nezu chuckled. He does have an eye for potential. That's what makes him such an excellent teacher. Okay. Izuku took a gulp of air and struggled into a sitting position. Oh, when can I start seeing patients? Nezu pondered. Well, it takes a day to get a visitor's pass, so general patients may begin coming in tomorrow or the next day. I'm sure there are some UA students that would like to see you, though, to the consternation of our staff. They get out of classes later today. We'll release you half an hour before the students so that you have time to prepare yourself. Thank you! Izuku sipped water as provided by Nezu for a few more minutes before Aizawa returned with a plain-looking man in a tall trench coat. Ah, here they are. Young Midori, this is Tsukauchi Naomasa, a police detective. He'd like to ask you a few questions. Sure. Hello, Mr. Tsukauchi. Izuku hauled himself to his feet and bowed as deeply as he could without tipping over, which was not too deep at all. Greetings, Midori. Should we go somewhere else, or is you fine? I'm good. I mean, we could talk here. Izuku staggered to the benches set at the wall nearest him and sagged onto it. Tsukauchi followed young Midori and pulled a bench around so that they could face each other. I'll start simple then. Your name is Midori Izuku, correct? It is when I wear this face. Yes. And your quirk, give and take, allows you to take the intangible qualities of a person and give them to others? Quirks aren't technically intangible. Usually. That is my current understanding of it. Honestly, the way all these heroes are concerned have me questioning it. I see. Do you know anything about a man called All for One? A few things. He was apparently a villain that spanned generations and used business fronts to fund himself and the villain's alliance. His quirk, All for One, let him steal other people's quirks and either keep them or give them away, which is like mine, which is why I'm under suspicion. He's in prison now after his battle with All Might. I see Yagi gave you the rundown. Tsukauchi snorted. Izuku nodded. Do you know the whereabouts of any of the agents of the villain's alliance? No. They had all gone into hiding as soon as Izuku's betrayal was revealed. What are your intentions with the students at UA? To help them be the best that they can be, just like the rest of my patients. I didn't reach out to the students, they came to me. They're just patients like any other. The conversation continued in similar veins, with Tsukauchi confirming Izuku's credentials and accreditation, his business's legitimacy, and a series of unrelated questions meant as a litmus test of Izuku's answering pattern. Eventually, Tsukauchi stood and nodded. I think I have all that I need. Nezu, if you'll come with me, I can give you my debrief. Very well, Nezu chirped chippily. Aizawa, you can take young Midori to the office that the counselors have set up for him. Eraserhead gave an affirmative grunt. The walk was again in silence, though slower because of Izuku's fatigue. Stairs proved a special challenge, but the boy gritted his teeth and powered through the pain. He was disappointed to find just a standard office. Desk and chair, filing cabinet, and a window. Nothing personalized, nothing especially comforting. There was even a miscellaneous pro-hero stationed outside his door for security. At least the room was soundproofed and had no cameras or other surveillance devices to keep the sanctity of patient-doctor confidentiality. Izuku had settled into the chair behind the desk and messaged his mother to visit the next day and bring a few beanbag chairs and plush toys, recalling that UA students were partial to those amenities, and to tell her to direct patients to seek a UA visitor's pass, when there was a knock at his door. Entering his new office was a tall boy with a square face and navy hair. He wore small rectangular glasses over a sour expression, trying its best to seem neutral. He wheeled in on a wheelchair, made necessary for both of his legs had been amputated just below the pelvis.